we do is music. Those are the words of John Cage, an American minimalist composer of the 20th century. In his compositions, John Cage spread the idea that music constantly surrounds us and is hidden everywhere. In 1948, John Cage composed his most controversial piece called 433. This piece consists of 3 movements and originally is performed by an orchestra, including a conductor. For 3 movements, it's quite short, only 4 minutes and 33 seconds, just like the name. For now, it seems like the most basic, standard music piece. Then, what's so controversial about it? Well, the uniqueness of this piece is in the fact that it can be played anywhere, at any time, with any group of people that don't even necessarily have to be musicians. In fact, let's listen to this piece right now in this room. Now, how did you like that? I'm sure you're very confused right now, just like the people were confused in the audience during the premiere of this piece, when throughout the whole 4 minutes and 33 seconds, not a single musician on stage has touched their instrument, and the room just stayed completely quiet. People were confused and angry. I mean, how is this considered music? It's just silence. However, John Cage's response to that was that people who were angry simply missed the point. There is no such thing as silence. And what they thought was silence, because they didn't know how to listen, was full of accidental sounds. And there is a lot of debate going on around this piece and the idea behind it. However, what John Cage said is true. There is no such thing as silence. Even now, for the 10 seconds while we listened to the piece, this room wasn't silent. It was full of tiny accidental sounds, like, for example, the whispering of people, the tapping of footsteps, the echo in the hallway, even our own breathing. And all of this created a unique merge, a system of sound that maintained and is constantly maintaining our environment expressive and lively. Silence doesn't exist in a natural world. Silence occurs in a vacuum. Those are the words of Chris Watson, another minimalist composer, yet already of the 21st century. Chris Watson has a very similar idea to John Cage's, yet a very different approach towards music. In his pieces, he focused particularly on sounds in the environment, the naturally occurring environmental sounds. For example, his album Weather Report consists of audio recordings of the start of the storm, the rumbling of thunder, the sound of rain and wind, and even the moving of cows on the farm. So basically just the sounds happening in the present moment. Both pieces by Chris Watson and John Cage don't have the basic musical features that you expect. They don't have a melody, they don't have an accompaniment, no rhythm, no structure. However, that is the idea behind those pieces, to show that music is not something that always needs limitations, and that music is hidden everywhere around us in everything we do and experience. It prevents our world from being silent. Not only music surrounds us everywhere, it also has a constant effect on our physiological and mental state. In 2013, Miriam Thoma and a group of scientists investigated the ways in which different sounds can affect the concentration of cortisol in the human saliva. Cortisol is a hormone released by our adrenal glands, which is released when we are experiencing some kind of stress. So in the experiment, participants were asked to listen to different sounds, relaxing music, the rippling of water, or no sound whatsoever. Every 15 minutes of the listening session, participants' saliva was collected. And in the middle of the listening session, the participants were asked to participate in a stress-related activity, which would increase the release of cortisol in their body. As the results show, out of the 3 conditions, the rippling of water, which is highlighted in red, was the most successful in maintaining the concentration of cortisol the lowest during the stress-related activity and generally throughout the whole listening session. Both conditions, the relaxing music and the rippling of water, facilitated and eased the stress response. Those results show that listening to sounds of nature and relaxation music can improve our mental well-being and affect our biological processes happening in the body. Now, whether you're a teenager's parent, or simply an adult, you have been through or are now experiencing the teenage years of life. And you know that this is a very unique and delicate stage of life, where often people that care for you, for example, your parents, don't always know how to provide the needed sense of support and connection, even if they really want to. And that's where music can be a big help. A 2020 study by Katharina Schaefer investigated the ability of music to evoke positive feelings. In this study, participants were asked to listen to both comforting and distracting music in an isolated room. As results show, both comforting and distracting music led to people feeling less lonely after the listening session. Other results also suggest that listening to self-chosen music improved happiness and increased empathy levels of people. Teenage years are a very sensitive stage of life, during which we constantly seek for support, comfort, and distraction. And these results prove that such a simple act as listening to music can provide this sense of support and help teenagers feel understood, playing a role of a virtual supportive friend. Not only music helps in coping with loneliness, but it also plays a big role in structuring the relationship between teenagers and their parents. Music negotiates the dynamics in these relationships and helps teenagers set their boundaries, express themselves freely, and understand their social identity. In 2013, Helen Elizabeth Davis investigated the role of music in relationships between teenage girls and their parents. In this experiment, through group discussions, teenage girls shared their experience in different situations involving family members and music. This study showed that for teenagers, it's very important to have a private, isolated space in which they can freely listen to music, because this helps teenagers feel in control and provides a space of their own. This study also showed that multiple girls shared the desire to play music out loud, which they could only do if all of the other family members were not in the house, so when the girls were alone. Well, in some cases, the music played during those moments was aligned with the girls' music taste. In other cases, the music played was specifically the music disliked by other family members living in the house. In this situation, music served as a powerful tool through which teenage girls could express their discontent and which provided an emotional release. Generally, this study showed that music listening is a freeing act that helps both teenage girls and teenage boys, as revealed in further studies, to express themselves freely, set their boundaries, and understand their self-identity. People often say that they're not musical or that they don't have the musical ear. However, I think it's impossible to be not musical. Music is what constantly surrounds us, whether it's through intentional listening or through sounds in our everyday routine. Being musical is the way in which we contribute to being human. And if, as John Cage said, everything we do is music, we have the unbelievable power to shape the way we use it and embrace it for our own benefits. When we learn how to notice and utilize music, we will learn how to embrace and appreciate ourselves. Thank you.